and Juliana is going to be our coach today. We also have with us Jim Chi. Both of them are IFD coaches and mentors that we work with, and we're here to provide information and topics of interest in the fashion industry. We do a lot of focus around ethical and sustainable and fashion. So this session today with Juliana is size inclusion and ethical fashion and diet culture. So it's quite the mouthful of a title, but it's a wonderful topic and one that we're all passionate about, and especially Juliana has worked in this space for some time. So it'll be wonderful to have her share her thoughts and knowledge about that. While we're waiting, I guess, for a few more people that are popping in, Jim, I'd like to introduce you, or have you introduce yourself, just to share with the group who you are and what you do and your involvement with Inside Fashion Design. So I'll pass it off to you.
Great, thanks, Britta. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first session for 2023. My name is Jim Chi. I'm the principal of Cascade Management Consulting based in Portland, Oregon. My work revolves around promoting sustainability strategies for a lot of apparel brands, manufacturers, and raw material suppliers. Along with that work, I've been doing that across the apparel sector, as well as footwear and sports equipment for different types of products. My work history goes back to my initial start in the footwear and apparel space with one of the sports brands here in Portland, and have gone into other licensed products across the country and out of Europe as far as the brands go. For today's session, I want to welcome all of you to participate as much as you'd like. Britta and I are launching this platform with the emphasis of making sure that we are sharing awareness and usable work processes for everyone to be able to build their own business in terms of from a design perspective, as well as being able to deliver your particular apparel line to consumers. So feel free to ask any questions. And we do ask for a little bit of your patience as we evolve our platform here in terms of potential glitches in some of our technology, as well as how we might deliver some of the content. So we just ask for a little bit of patience as we sort through those details. And then we'll put this towards Juliana sharing the information about the topics that you addressed. Thanks again.
Yeah, I'll dive in just before Juliana starts. I couldn't be happier to have Juliana leading this class today. And if you're not familiar with Inside Fashion Design, please check out our website. We're, like Jim mentioned, we're learning and growing, and we're very interested in what the audience and you as fashion professionals, if you're even in fashion, if you're not in fashion and just interested, we love hosting classes. And if there's a topic that you're interested in, please share it in the chat or direct message us, email us. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you are in the industry already and you would be interested in leading a class to get in front of our audience, we would be thrilled to have you. And we try to keep it very informal and simple. So you can just come on and decide what you want to share. So please, we welcome those ideas and just reach out. I will say we also like, especially Juliana as our leader today, loves an informal conversational style Zoom session. So please feel free to either say something in the chat. You're welcome to unmute and interrupt us if you want. If you're not comfortable doing that, just send a message through the chat and one of us can interrupt based on your questions, but we would love to have a conversation. So that's part of our community here is talking and working together and exchanging of ideas and just keeping it more of a discussion and community feel. So with all of that said, I'm very happy to introduce Juliana. And I'll be watching the chat. Feel free, again, like just interrupt, raise your hand, whatever you're comfortable doing. And with that, I will pass it on to Juliana.
Thank you, Britta. Thank you, Jim. Very, very excited to be here today. We're talking about diet culture, which fast fashion and inclusivity and all that stuff, which is probably one of my absolute favorite things to talk about. So I want to reiterate again, please, questions are more than welcome. I love running my workshops as more of a conversation. So please feel free to jump in if you have any questions. That's just my favorite way to go. So let me share my screen and get my presentation going. Okay. I love Canva. Okay, can y'all see my screen okay? Good, okay. All right, so the mouthful of our topic today is size inclusion, ethical fashion, and the influence of diet culture. So a lot of really big topics that I want to cover today. And honestly, the new year is the perfect time to do that, because if you're anything like me, and the vast majority of us in the States, we're constantly inundated, specifically around the time of the new year, with diet culture messaging. And I'm definitely going to get into what on earth I even mean by diet culture, because that is a word that gets thrown around a lot and it's not often well defined. So I will make sure I define that really, really well for us. Okay, so to start off, what is diet culture? Christy Harrison, who's an anti-diet dietitian, she has an amazing podcast called Food Psych. She defines diet culture as the equating of living in a smaller body to moral superiority. So that diet culture can be boiled down to that very simple definition. We see this in so many different ways in areas in our society that we don't really even notice it anymore. I give some examples on the next page of things that we often say or we often hear, that diet culture is just inundated in our society from the time we are little to like throughout our lifetimes. We're just constantly told that living in a smaller body, at least at this point in history, is morally superior to living in a larger body. Fat phobia, the fear of fatness, is one of the last, that kind of sounds like a weird way to say that. It's a socially acceptable form of discrimination. I want to make it very, very clear that body size and morals are not related. Like that, if you hear one thing from me today, hear that body size and morals have nothing to do with each other. And that is the message that diet culture is going to try to instill in you, is that you have to live in a smaller body to be okay, morally superior, which is dumb, but that's what it is. Just some examples of, let me get my, what button makes my, okay, there we go. It's that button. Examples of diet culture. I'll have fries instead of the salad. Oh, I'm being so bad. How many times have we all said that? Like, raise your hand, do anything. Any of these ring true to you? Like, let me know. Oh, this one gets me. You look so good. Have you lost weight? Guilty. Like, I really think we've all said that. Like, you see someone that you haven't seen in a long time. You look so good. Have you lost weight? So again, there's that morality link to diet and body size. There's that link. And then I can't eat that. I'm trying to be good. How many of you have said something like that? All of us? I mean, pretty much all of us. Yeah. Okay, I want to give a little bit of information on who the heck I am and what I do and why I even care about this stuff. So my name is Juliana Allen. I own a boutique called Mary Rose Boutique out in Oregon City, Oregon, right on Main Street, right downtown. And we've been around for about 5 years. From the absolute get-go, the boutique has been size inclusive. We have worked really hard to make sure that we are inclusive in our sizing. So that has been our goal since the absolute beginning of the boutique. Over the last 5 years, a lot of other things have changed. I started to learn more about the fashion industry and very quickly realized that child labor is an actual thing and pollution is a problem. It's embarrassing to say that I did not know that. So about 2 years ago, we switched the entire boutique from fast fashion to slow fashion. There's a major problem here though. The slow fashion, the sustainable fashion world, size inclusion is barely a thing there. And I quickly realized that. We were trying really hard to make our supply chains transparent And all the vendors that we were working with that were size inclusive, we would ask them questions and they couldn't answer them. Like simple questions. Where does your product come from? Where does it go? Like that's the minimum. And most brands couldn't answer that in the fast fashion space. Not surprising to all you, I'm assuming, but it was shocking to me. I was like, how do you not know who made your clothes? How do you not know? But they didn't. And so we were switching the whole boutique from fast fashion to slow fashion, could not find inclusive sizing. Couldn't find it. Enter our line. We decided to start our own fashion line, and that's called Hope Continues. So I launched that last spring and summer. We put out 2 collections. So Hope Continues inspires hope for an inclusive future. We craft simplistic and easy to wear and minimalistic designs, honoring humans and earth in all levels of the supply chain. So it's built on inclusivity. The whole brand is built on being inclusive. Size inclusion is just one of the pieces, but it's incredibly important for me to have that inclusion at the absolute center of what we're doing. A lot of that is because I also have a nonprofit called the Mary Rose Foundation. It's our 501c3. It's a registered nonprofit. And the goal of our nonprofit is to prevent eating disorders. So when we first opened the boutique over 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to do a little bit more because why not, right? But there was a mission that I had to make. I struggled with a long time with an eating disorder, about 15 years growing up, struggled with anorexia and bulimia. And treatment is so incredibly expensive to access. We're talking around $2,000 a day for somebody that needs an intensive inpatient treatment. It's inaccessible. It is completely inaccessible. So our nonprofit has moved from just pure funding treatment to much more on the prevention side. So we work with our local high school here in Oregon City. We have a one-on-one mentorship program that we developed for our local high school. We also have I call them body positive art groups that take kids through a curriculum on how to love themselves, because we're not taught that. Like our society is just inundated with all these messages of you're not good enough. You need to buy this to be okay. Your body needs to look like this. All these messages, and they're all crap, to be honest with you. And so that's a little bit about our nonprofit, and our goal is for human beings in all bodies to love and accept themselves as they are. Oh, I see. Is there chat? Oh, no. Okay. Oh my gosh. I love Lizzo. I love Lizzo. Sorry. I just pulled up the chat. So one thing that Lizzo does that I started doing here in the shop, when she talks about sizing, she flips it. So the way I used to say sizing, so the sizing of our line, extra small through 5X. And because of Lizzo, she says it the other way. She goes 5X through extra small. So now I'm trying really hard to say that, because it's like, when you start to really like dive into this stuff, you're like, yeah, people in smaller bodies really are like seen as superior to people that live in larger bodies. And it's just not like, it's not okay. Like, it's not okay. And that's how, like, without going too far on a tangent, but that's how oppressive systems work, right? You're keeping one group superior to another group of people. And in this particular case, smaller bodied humans are seen as morally superior to larger bodied humans. So that's how oppressive systems work. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to minimize my chat so I don't get super distracted, because I will. Okay. Okay. So why is diet culture even a problem? Like why do I care? Why is this even a problem? Anti-fat movement, often disguised as health and wellness. I am not in the medical profession anymore. I actually was, fun fact, but I'm no longer in the medical profession. So I cannot, I'm not going to speak too much about this, but I am going to say that weight is not the only determiner of health. And to be completely honest, your health, not my business at all. Like that, it kind of just is the stop right there. Like even if this human is not healthy, which what is healthy, and we perceive that there's a whole bunch of stuff there, but it's not my business. Your health, not my business. point blank, right? Not my business. Fat phobia continues to be an acceptable form of discrimination in our culture. Lack of accessibility. This is fascinating to me. 70% of people identifying as women in the States wear a size 14 or above, or a size extra large. The vast majority of slow fashion brands produce up to a size large. So there are a lot of issues with accessibility, and only one of them is size inclusion. So if we're just talking about the size inclusion aspect of accessibility, slow fashion brands have automatically deleted 70% of their potential market. And why is that? Why are we only producing up to a size large if significantly more than the majority are wearing a size extra large or above? Why are we doing that? And the answer is diet culture. The answer goes back to that moral superiority. That is what that diet culture tells us. It's, you live in a small body. Oh, you must care about all these things that I care about. Like, if you live in a larger body, you can't possibly care about where your clothes came from, right? It's stupid. I know that's not a very professional way to put it, but it's stupid. So yes, so that is a major issue. Why diet culture is a problem. And if we're talking about trying to make change on a bigger scale with the fashion industry and with the slow fashion, ethical fashion movement, we have got to become more accessible. And again, size inclusion is just one piece of this puzzle on accessibility. And I am talking specifically about size inclusion right now. It has to become more accessible. If we're knocking out 70% of the population already, that is potentially our target, like, what are we doing? What are we doing if we're not accessible to people just based on their size? Whoop, almost knocked my tea over. Don't do that. That would have ended the presentation. Sorry. Okay, moving on. Diet culture and disordered eating. Oh, I get very passionate about this part too. So I do want to make it very clear that there is a difference between disordered eating and eating disorders. And once again, I will say I am not a medical professional. I have 15 years of lived experience with a diagnosable eating disorder. So and we run a nonprofit as well that works with eating disorders, but I'm not a medical professional. So just putting that out there. Disordered eating, which a vast majority of people in our society, women specifically, but people of any gender really struggle as well. Disordered eating is a preoccupation with food and your body, yo-yo dieting, inflexible eating patterns, excuse me. So this is alarming. Over 60% of teenage girls report trying to lose weight, and it was still pretty significant for teenage boys as well. I didn't write that one down, but it was like 20% of teenage boys that are currently trying to lose weight, so on a diet of some sort. 60% of teenage girls report trying to lose weight. 70% of 10-year-olds are afraid of being fat. It is starting younger. I know it is starting younger and younger. Like, this hurts. Like, this hurts to see. My stepdaughter is almost 12 and in middle school. And I remember when she was in kindergarten, and we were out summertime riding bikes. And she said, I don't want to wear shorts when I ride my bike. I was like, okay, like, what, can you elaborate on that, please? And she goes, it makes my legs look big. So it is, and we are like, I'm very careful in my house to not use that morality tied with food or tied with your body, right? Like, that's just something that I've worked really hard to keep out of our household. Is there's not like, oh, this is bad, you can't eat that. Oh, you're doing good. You're on whatever, all the things we say to ourselves, or we potentially can say to ourselves. And she still said that. What, kindergarten, 5 years old, 6 years old? Like, it is not, it is everywhere. These statistics are from NEDA, which is the National Eating Disorder Association. They have a ton of good resources on their website. So that's where all these statistics are from NEDA. So that's disordered eating. big problem in our society. Eating disorders. So if you want to think of it, you think of it as a continuum or as a spectrum. You've got, which I don't really think exists in our society, but like no preoccupation with food, very intuitive, very just great relationship with food. Again, that does not happen too often in our society. And then you start to move a little bit over this way. Here's your disordered eating. And at the very end of the spectrum, you've got a diagnosable eating disorder. So disordered eating definitely can lead to an eating disorder. So there's three main types of eating disorders. You have anorexia, you have bulimia, and then you have binge eating disorder. Those are the three most commonly diagnosed eating disorders. And the really interesting thing is they're not as common as people think they are. The disordered eating, very common. 60% of teenage girls trying to lose weight. I would argue that's disordered eating. Eating disorders, about 1% of the population at any given time struggles with anorexia. A little higher for bulimia, 3-ish%, and then binge eating disorders a little higher, so about 5%. So again, all these statistics can be found on NEDA, National Eating Disorder Association. The really interesting thing about anorexia and bulimia specifically is their etiology. Their causation is incredibly complex. It's been the simplest way to describe it is it's a combination of biological, psychological, and sociological factors. So the biology, eating disorders are actually highly heritable. They have a similar heritability rate as schizophrenia and other highly heritable diseases that we know are heritable. So very similar heritability rate as other mental health disorders, other disorders. Psychological, huge percentage. I mean, say it's in the 90% of people that struggle with an eating disorder also have another co-occurring disorder. So most often a mood disorder or an anxiety disorder. Major depression is common. Anxiety disorders are common. Obsessive compulsive disorder. You actually have a lot of people that are on the autistic spectrum that struggle with eating disorders as well. It's fascinating. Like it all really kind of co-occurs in this not so beautiful disaster. But it's really quite fascinating. And then of course we have our societal factors. So that is the piece that we can most control, as in my opinion, that's the piece that we can most control. So that is the societal pressures that we see every day, right? Like that's the diet culture. That's the equating of moral superiority to living in a smaller body. That's that language of, hey, you look so good. Have you lost weight? You see someone for the first time in a long time. You look so good. Have you lost weight? Just listen for that. Like you will be amazed at how often that particular sentence comes out of people's mouths. Like it is. When I started to pay attention, I was like, oh my God, like I can't hear that any more times. Especially we've been in a pandemic for I don't know how long, but you see people that you haven't seen in a while. And that's the first thing people say to you. Okay, I'm going to check the chat because there's 5 comments in there. How exciting. We have emails. Thanks, Jen. Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have checked. No, just emails. Okay. Any questions, anybody? I love talking about this stuff. So if I'm going too fast, just please let me know. Yes. Any questions? Are we good?
Does anyone want to ask? I can unmute you if anyone wants to say something at this point. I've got everyone muted just to keep out the background noise, but I'm more than happy to unmute. And we love the comments, and obviously just my personal love is to watch Juliana and her passion about this. So I'll unmute again, but please feel free to just raise your hand or whatever if you want to ask a question. So,
hey, Juliana, why don't we touch on the topic of how these eating disorders and the diet culture has affected the prevalence of limiting sizes, and then maybe as far as how you built your line. As far as what you're offering in your boutique in terms of, addressing that portion, the 2/3 of the population that are, excluded from that sizing. So what are your strategies around, building that line, and also in terms of how you went about sizing for inclusion for those above size 14?
Yeah, the thing that I was very clear on the beginning of my journey in this, in creating the line, that I had to put that size inclusivity at the center. Like that is how I built it. Like in having that vision, having that determination of this is going to be at the center of it. And I don't care what everybody is saying, because you know how many people were like, well, it doesn't sell. It's not going to do that. Like people aren't coming in. I was like, no, this is not okay. And I get it. Like it is more costly. I get it. It is a material. Like you have to have more material. You have to do different size grading. Like the way the size grading is, it's the small through large relatively, and then you've got the extended sizing. It's a different grade. Like it does cost more to produce. It does cost more to have different fit models for humans in larger bodies. But we have to do that. You have to be committed to those changes, because I mean, it's not going to make a difference if we don't. Like that's the thing that really blows my mind, is like we can say all these things and we can do all these things, but the reality is 70% of people are living in a larger body. I don't care if you want them to not live in a larger body. I don't care. The reality is they are. And how are we going to make a larger change in the fashion industry if we are not inclusive, and if we are not grading our pieces like appropriately? Like you can't just add more material to a straight size thing. Like you can't do that. That's not how it works. And so having a variety of fit models was really, really critical for us. And we're still learning. Like this, we put out 2 collections, and our second collection was significantly better in the extended sizing than the first, because we listened to the feedback and we made the corrections. You're not going to get it right initially. Like I don't live in a larger body. It was hard. It's harder for me to like understand how different things fit. But you have to be willing and open to listen to humans that do. And you have to be willing to have those conversations with people. So that was it.
Oh, hey, so we're getting some great comments from Marietta, a former colleague of mine here, on the fact that like the larger sizes, as far as being aware in terms of, we have majority, 2/3 of the population who are in the larger sizes, but unaware in terms of the comment about being promoted or advertised. I mean, that's a key element there. So Juliana, for your boutique, where you are focused on this inclusive size range, how are you promoting and getting this information out to our consumers, the 2/3 of the population that are underserved?
That for us has come down to brand photography. Having a diversity in our brand photography, in the mini fashion shows that we do. I'll go over this a little bit later in the presentation, but representation matters. And if I don't see myself represented by a brand, probably not going to buy them. So I can sit here being the size that I am and say, hey, we carry up to size 5X. A human living in a size 5X body is going to be like, okay, great. You have no idea what it feels like to live in this size body. And I don't. So that is why the partnerships with humans that live in larger bodies, having that representation in your photography, in all of your brand imagery, is really, really critical. Excuse me. That's critical, is the representation. Yep, that matters a lot.
Great. So you touched on the fact that like with the larger sizes, you're promoting and advertising through having the larger size models. Yep. And in terms of sharing that information, another element here, in terms of the commenting about size grading for anybody that is looking to put together their line, it's just not a straight extended grading of going from one size to a larger size, because you're not having the person becoming proportionally taller. You're not having somebody that is 5'6", as a size, size 4 or size 8. All of a sudden now, when you get to a size 20, like in the comment section here, if you get to a size 20, that doesn't mean that they went from being 5'6" to now being, significantly taller, because when you expand that grading, it's not just in terms of waist size or shoulder size. It's now in terms of height and inseam and things like that. So it's not a proportional grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's that's where I want to not, some brands can be kind of lazy in this way. And it is so easy to say, well, I tried it and it didn't work. I'm not going to do that again. When the truth is, the reality is like, we didn't try that hard. You know, we didn't try that hard, and it takes time. It takes time to build the extended sizing trust, because it just takes time to build that trust within the extended size community. The biggest thing that I can say is to listen and to learn and to do better. That honestly, that kind of sums up so many things in general with society and discrimination, and like all of like so many different areas. But if you're open to listening, to learning, and to adjusting, and to making those changes, that's going to help. And it just takes time. I wish it didn't, but I don't have the automatic trust of somebody that lives in a larger body. I don't, and that's fine. I can't expect that. So I have to listen, I have to learn, and then I have to make those necessary adjustments and communicate that the whole time and make sure people are represented. People just want to be seen. Like all of us just want to be seen and to be respected. Like it's pretty basic. It's pretty basic, actually. Like if you can just go back to that, like I understand it's frustrating. I understand there's going to be more cost associated because you've got the grading and you've got the fit models and you've got, I understand that, but all of us just want to be seen. We just want to feel heard and represented. So I'm going to carry on. And please continue to, I'm going to keep the chat open, I think, this time, because it's kind of fun to see. Okay, I'm moving it out of my way, though. All right, what's next? Oh, this is one of my favorite topics, fast fashion and diet culture. When I first started realizing, oh my gosh, they're so connected. Because like, again, I mentioned that we used to be a fast fashion boutique. I did that because I didn't know. There's where that listening and learning and doing better comes in, though. Like I'm trying not to be ashamed of that fact, because I just didn't know. I didn't know. It's not my background. I came from healthcare, you all. Like I didn't come from this industry. I came from healthcare. So learning about the fast fashion industry and then connecting it to diet culture, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh. So this is the best way I can kind of think to summarize it is diet culture teaches us that we are not enough as we are. Change this about your body. Don't eat that. Be smaller. Don't be this. Don't be that. All those things that this diet culture teaches us. We must shrink our bodies in order to become acceptable. Fast fashion encourages this constant consumption. You are not good enough unless you have X, Y, and Z. So both encourage this distraction and changing yourself to fit a standard. As we're entering this new year, there's a few things that I'm just not doing anymore. And one of them is just changing myself to fit the stupid standards. Like I'm not doing that anymore. And I think we're seeing a lot more people do that as well. And I am totally here for that. Like I love, specifically women. It definitely goes to all genders. I identify as a woman, so I can speak a little bit more freely to that. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it anymore. So we're no longer changing ourselves to fit society's stupid standards that means nothing. So that's it. Yes, fat tax. Oh my gosh. So that's something else we've done in the storefront. Since the beginning is we decided to charge the same amount for size small and size 3, 4, 5X, whichever. There's no difference between the pricing. And there is on the wholesale side of it, or yes, when we're purchasing an item, it does cost us more, but I'm not gonna pass that on to the consumer because I don't agree with it at all. And there's no plus size section either, which I also think is stupid. Plus size section, because they're always hidden in the back. I have this in my head. This is how plus size sections are. They're in the back or they're down in the basement and they're dark. Like that's just how it is. So we also don't do that here at the shop. Everything is mixed in with everything. We do put little tabs on the hangers for extended sizing. Just because not everything does go in extended sizing, the vast majority does. But so we do have little indicators, but it's all in one. So yeah, fat tax, stupid. Sorry for my lack of professionality on that one, but it's stupid. So here we go. Let's see. So changing the narrative. So, whoops, sorry, I made the chat really big. Okay, changing the narrative. So diet culture, size inclusion, ethical fashion, all very, very complex topics. Fat phobia, all those things, it begins with awareness. So we aren't going to change anything until we're willing to talk about it. It's a thread. It's a thread in our society that you can really, really see amplified over these last few years. If you aren't aware of something, it's not going to change. If you aren't willing to have these uncomfortable conversations about, yeah, you know what, sometimes I do think poor things, or I do think these things about people that live in larger bodies, or whatever it may be, we have to become aware. And there's no judgment. We were raised in a society that values thinness, that values one look, one particular look. So just becoming aware of it. Awareness is the first step in change. So that's what we're doing. Becoming aware of it. Fat phobia is real. It exists. It is still an acceptable form of discrimination. And this one is really, really important to me. The next one, being mindful of your words in regards to food and body. This does take time to change. I have two little humans in my life, two little kiddos, and I have to be very careful to not say, like, they love candy, right? Because they're 2 and 5. Of course they love candy. But I never want to make them feel like, hey, it's not okay to do that. But then there's also this balance of, yeah, you can't have candy for breakfast, dude. Like, your teacher would hate me. But just trying to disconnect the words good and bad away from body and away from food. That's the step. That's the step that we're all going to take. So instead of saying, I'm going to be so bad, I'm going to have the fries today, let's just say I want the fries. Like, there's nothing to do with you being a good person or a bad person. Nothing. I did a podcast a while ago, and I was interviewing a therapist, actually, and she was saying, she's like, did your food rob a bank? Like, why is your food bad? Like, what did your food do that was so bad? Like, no, it's just food. It is just food. So starting to disconnect those more words that are associated with morality, like good and bad and all that crap, away from food and body image or bodies is really, really important. And another pretty simple thing to do is ask brands to carry extended sizing. We've done that a lot. Most of the time they say no. I don't think I've ever actually had one say yes, but I'm gonna keep bugging them. It's a great thing for people that are already in this fashion space of whichever area you're in. If you're in the design, if you're in the manufacturing, whatever area you're in, just to bring awareness to, hey, maybe we should carry more sizing. Maybe we should try to be more inclusive and represented in our branding, like all of that stuff. These are just conversations that we need to start having. Oh, okay. So this is key. Real change requires inclusion. Representation matters. That is a hill I am willing to die on. Representation matters. I want to see myself represented in your branding. I want to see myself represented on your runway. All of us do. So diversity in body type, diversity in genders, diversity in races, diversity in all these beautiful, beautiful things that make us all human. That matters. And I want to see myself on that runway. I want to see myself represented. I want to know that as a consumer, you see me and you value me enough to represent me in your product imagery, in whatever form of marketing you're doing. I want to know that you value me and that you see me. So all of us are the same in that. All of us just want to be seen. So speaking on inclusion, ethical brands, we can produce more sizing. We can do it. Again, I understand that it takes time. I understand that it takes financial resources. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But we can do it. We can do it. And consumers, we can ask brands for that. Again, they'll probably say no, unless they're a small brand. But we're just going to keep asking and keep putting that bug in their ear until they'll eventually say yes. That's, I mean, you know, I'm nagging. I'm really good at that. So, you know, they'll eventually say yes. I'll break them down until they say yes. It's my goal. Okay, so to summarize, human beings in all bodies deserve to access clothing made with respect to humans and Mother Earth. It's an accessibility issue. Again, that is a much more complex topic, like much more complex. I'm speaking specifically to size inclusion right now. There's really not a better way to say that. Like, human beings in all bodies deserve to access clothing made with respect to humans and Mother Earth. It's not rocket science. We all deserve that. Like, we all do. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for attending. There's all of my things there. So I know I have so many things, because why not? I recently changed my Instagram. So my Instagram, come find me. It's Reclaiming Juliana. I'm also on there as Hope Continues, also on as The Foundation, and then there's my email address as well. All of those things. I would love to hear your thoughts. If y'all want to unmute and have a discussion with me, that would be really cool. I'm going to stop my share if that's okay now, Britta. Good. Whoop. Okay.
I need to unmute myself. So yeah, I've unmuted folks. I can't, like, I get goosebumps listening to you, Juliana, because your passion is contagious. And I was thinking as you're speaking, we have another coach designer from the industry, Daniela Kane, and one of her brand and one of her big topics that she advocates for is how fashion makes you feel. Like, what's the energy that you feel when you put on a garment? And I had never really thought of it that way, but back in the day when I shopped at Forever 21 and, you know, I was younger and I loved all that fast fashion, you put it on. And I guess, you know, then I didn't really pay attention. But now when you compare putting on a polyester something blend, you know, top compared to an ethically made, beautiful material, eco-friendly, you put it on. Daniela has convinced me that it actually raises your vibration. So everyone deserves to feel that when they put on a garment, no matter what size you are. And so having accessibility, like you're saying, of high quality, and yes, I understand, like you said, it costs more, it uses more material, but everyone deserves that. So you know, and as far as what brands are doing, keep bugging them, keep demanding it. They have to listen to consumers. And, you know, everyone deserves to have that quality, the accessibility to get those types of items. So it just kind of made me think back to Daniela and how people really need to understand that no matter what your style is or what your size is, you deserve to have something that makes you feel beautiful and amazing. Another thing about your collection that I love, Juliana, is that it's gender neutral also. Like, you can go into the shop, it doesn't matter how you identify, you put one of your garments on from the collection and it makes you feel happy, it makes you feel good, then you're more confident, and we all deserve that. So that's, yeah, just kind of summing it all up on, you know, what is your collection about and how do you want it to make people feel? And you're doing a wonderful job at that. And again, like, reach out to Juliana, go visit her shop, or you can, I don't know where you're all from, but you can certainly find it online. And actually, since we're all here, if where is everybody from? I would love to hear that. I would also love to know where you found the event posting. Was it LinkedIn or social media? That would kind of help us know where we can reach people. So feel free to write in the chat where you're from. Maybe even if are you in the industry or you're just interested in this topic, that would be fun to learn too. So, and while we're doing that, please ask questions as well. So let's see. Anyone want to share where you're from or how you found the event? That would be awesome. Portland, Scappoose, Oregon, nice. LinkedIn, apparel technical designer, wonderful. Washington, D.C., amazing. That's East Coast, love that.
Great.
Do we have anyone not in the industry that's just attending for, we've got someone joining us again still, aspiring. Yeah, so the other thing is, as Jim mentioned in the beginning, if you were with us, Inside Fashion Design is a resource for everyone. So we have all kinds of articles on the main website, whether you're, mid to upper level career, or if you need some entrepreneurial type of advice articles, that's all there, but we're also here to help and guide. So if you reach out to us directly, Jim is a consultant, I'm a consultant, Juliana is available. So as I mentioned in the beginning, again, we just love the community and we're here to support each other. So please reach out, don't hesitate. Reston, Virginia, LinkedIn. I'm not in the industry, but aspiring. Can you talk about petite sizes, which I find problematic? That's a good one because that is a whole other audience that I have some personal friends that shop in kids sections because they cannot find, jeans in a size 2 or whatever they are. So I don't know if Juliana, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it goes back to that same thing on representation matters. And it is hard. It is hard to do. One thing I've tried so hard to do is to fit as many bodies as I can with one style, right? And I will be completely honest, I'm a tall human. I am 5'9". My mom is 6'1", right? And so I've designed things more from that lens, right? But then I get people in that are on the petite side and I'm like, crap. Like it's all learning and it's all adjusting, and just having that variety of fit models is critical. And the reality is one garment is not going to work for everybody. Like, we can do our best as designers to try to fit as many bodies as we can with our one piece. Oh, battery's going to die soon. Sorry. We can do our best to do that. But the reality is not everything is going to fit everybody. So finding what's important to you and then just going for that, and always be open to feedback. Like, always be open to feedback, because sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it hurts a little bit. But try to take you out of it and just say, okay, how can I best serve my client, serve my customer, serve whatever you're trying to do.
That's awesome. We have someone from Copenhagen, Denmark. That's super exciting. And another person from Denmark. I'm sorry, I got my time zones mixed up, so I can't stay long. Currently working in healthcare, but planning to build a business. Fantastic. A couple people found us on Instagram. So another great way to keep up with our future sessions is just follow us on Instagram. That would be fantastic. And it helps us out. If you like us, of course, the social media. Love from the UK. We will send out the recording if I have your emails, which I should, since you RSVP'd. Most of the time, I think there's no reason we can't do this, is we'll also share the video on our website and social media. Again, there'll be links. So if for some reason you don't get an email with a follow-up of the recording, it'll be available publicly. So we'll just, you can find it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for attending. And any other questions, comments? Jim, any last minute words, Juliana?
Yeah. So, hey, for everyone who attended today, I know that we've got a couple of European guests. I want to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that the apparel industry in Europe has a slightly different perspective, where there is a broader consideration for the extreme sizes, where it's extremely petite, or for larger sizes. So, the markets are slightly different, but the business challenge of supporting and acknowledging the consumers that are in the extremely petite, or what I'll say is above size 14, that challenge, the business challenge around that exists for any of the brands, whether you're in North America or based in Europe. I do want to just comment just in terms of, I did see that Anna was joining us from Denmark. I will be doing a series with a couple of Danish companies and some Swedish companies on how they address production, particularly in terms of markets that are in North America, how the brands there are addressing the size variances for the European market to the US. So hopefully we'll see you guys again on future sessions for that. Again, we are here to support your efforts in terms of those that are aspiring to be in the apparel industry, with various workshops on the business of apparel and the business of fashion. And so we'll continue to support you on those fronts with information and resources that you might need to launch your brands. So we'll look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you, everyone. Watch our posts. We have more lunch and learn sessions coming up. We've got, I think, several scheduled all through February up till now, all with different topics related to conscious design, ethical, sustainable. So just watch for those to be posted, and we'd love to have you join us again. And thank you again for your time. We appreciate it so much, and have a great rest of the day, and reach out again for any more information, comments, whatever. We love the feedback. So Happy New Year again, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.